What was the question?
Was how do you make it a metric that's sustainable? And I just wanted to start by keeping it really open.
Yeah.
So that like anyone could kind of be like, oh, I could start.
It's how do you make sustainability a metric?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's how do you show on your balance sheet when you're talking to a potential investor or a customer or someone else that I'm a sustainable company and I'm measuring that?
We got to narrow it down to the exact industry is really what we have to do.
I also think a large part of what sustainable means in my mind is how do we create an ecosystem? Not just my business alone and this is what I do. It's like, how do we put the dollars that people give my business into the hands of dollars of other businesses to create that abundance throughout this network?
And cycle.
That,
How do you do it?
my biggest key to it is to support what's real and to spend more money on the things that are going to create longevity. So my biggest thing I go back to in my business personally is I source a lot of mushrooms because I have mushrooms as my primary product that I sell. You can do that a whole lot of different ways. You can go and buy a bunch of mushroom extracts from China for cheap. And you can put those into a product. And you can then sell that product for 4 or 5x margins. That can be your scheme. That's not my scheme. My scheme was, this isn't even a scheme, it's what Chris and I say, world takeover plan. But my plan is and always will be to put dollars in pockets of farmers and people who are doing the work correctly to support their business so that their business still has foundation and they're able to continue to evolve. And I'm able to stand on that platform and say, this is U.S. cultivated. And look at how much better this is and look at the ecosystem that we're building with this to be able to push that agenda forward so that more people start to understand what that is. We've seen a huge push in Know Your Farmer more in the past 5 years than I think that we've had in this day and age in a long time, and the push for organic. Well, those labels and those things kind of came out of the middle of nowhere. It was a marketing scheme, just like how, whenever that was way back when they wanted to start pushing baby formula, they started telling all the doctors, to start pushing baby formula, and they said that it was more nutritious than breast milk. These are all marketing schemes that anybody can really do, right? So how do we take those lessons from these big companies that have screwed us for so long and put that into a metric that makes sense for us? I don't care about the organic label. I think it's a crock of shit. But if Chris or Matt calls me and tells me, oh, I know this K&F dairy farmer in Ireland, I'm so hyped on it. What's his name? Michael? Tom? I'm so obsessed with this guy. He's got this dairy, and I just am so enamored by his process. That's the level of transparency and quality that I'm looking for. I don't give two shits if the guy's organic. That's a metric that somebody else put together for us to try to have this brainwashing to think that that's what's real. So how do we make that into something that's tangible for us? I tried to put my own third-party approval system together for U.S. cultivated mushrooms, and I'll do it too. And I'm not going to charge people to have the certification. We're just going to start putting it on bottles. People laugh at the Forerunner. I had it wrapped. I put U.S. consciously cultivated mushrooms on everything I sell. Why? Because the more we can get the public to understand, oh, that's U.S. cultivated, and then they go see somebody else on the shelf and they say, oh, that doesn't say U.S. cultivated. Well, we have then inoculated the mind to start thinking about what that actually means. Oh, well, why is this U.S.? This one doesn't say U.S. Well, now I'm confused. I need to do some research. That's where we lead with education. And that's where everybody comes in to help with that. And that is how we can put a metric to it. But we all have to come together to figure out kind of what our broad plan is.
I think what you're saying, we have to come together to figure out what our broad plan is also the definition of sustainable is important. What is sustainable? Because that word gets thrown around. I have somebody comes to me and they're like, yeah, I just put together a super sustainable farm for my retirement. You know, I got photovoltaic, you know, system installed, you know, that's gonna run all my stuff. You know, there's $100 grand, and then
Sustain.
yeah, so they're putting the, you know, and in the end, that farm will never pay back the infrastructure investment or cost of their sustainable operation, and that's, in my opinion, not sustainable. The average person has a too high a barrier to entry to invest that level of capital to create something that's free system, if you will. So one definition I heard from some ranchers, incredible guys, of sustainability is that 3 generations can make income from the farm. You know, so a sustainable farm is that your children and their children can all pay their bills from the farm. That's sustainability, because you're sustaining a perpetual farmer on the land. You're training the next farmer on the land. This will sustain for generations, because so I think the definition of sustainability, if you're going to put it into a metric, that's what you got to decide. What does that mean for you? For me, plotting world takeover, you know,
That's literally what we have conversations about.
The idea is that I am not sustainable. My time teaching, my time on this earth comes to a close, and if really we're looking at plotting systemic change for the next generation, then it will need to be something that can sustain the next generation to farm regeneratively. And so you know, my journey is to create a network where the people that are going through the education then are promoted, given a platform, given opportunity to do the same thing, to change the paradigm, to teach without you know, without it being some, you know, I learned from different teachers, and I saw these models where the teacher's kind of pushing on the heads of all the students, like, I'm here, you're perpetually down here, and that isn't, in my opinion, sustainable. So I think that word is challenging because it's often filtered through different minds. So kind of collaboratively deciding what is sustainable, how do we value that, what is the metric, and I think in the end, a culture of community is kind of is sustainable, because yeah.
And I think a large part of that too, and something that I'd like to try to do this weekend, is gather some people in the cafeteria and just have a talk. What does this look like to us? What do we want? This is our future. Screw everything else outside of wherever we're not right now. You know, like, how do we come together and say, oh, this is so-and-so and they're looking for land to farm. Okay, well, who lives in that area and has land that's not farming? How do we connect people to make these things happen? And how do we create our own rule book? You know, how do we push forth our... We're way stronger in numbers, guys. That's the whole reason why we're even doing this right now.
Together.
We're so much better together. All weekend I've been saying, alone we can survive, but together we can thrive. And I truly, truly mean that. I wanted this panel to be about you guys being able to ask us questions, or Kat asking us questions around how to actually create something. I know running a business sounds super daunting, you know, and for
Well, ask how many people here have a business or a robust business, right?
Woo! Yeah!
Woo!
They already know, girl.
God, that gives me goosebumps. It just is so incredible to see so many entrepreneurs. So, okay, whatever you guys want to hear about.
I want to add one final thought on this. So, like, the idea of a metric is very, to me, like, logical, like, and that's like one modality of intelligence. And so, like, breaking things down into a number can often rob it of meaning. And so when we think about, like, metrics for success, sometimes it's a non-metric. Like net zero business, like Coco Vinny, he makes cocoa taps that dissolve in salt water in 30 days and turn into fish food. his company has 0 waste. And so it's like his metric is he has 0. You know what I mean? Right? And so it's like everyone's business is going to have a different metric, and you may be in transition. You may be like, oh, well, I do this, and then on the weekends I like volunteer here, and it's like, oh wow, that is regenerative. You're giving back, and that's why I want to just keep it open like that, so that as we keep that space, you will have things occur to you and fill in that blank within you, rather than being like, I should, or I must, those kinds of things. All these these are new spaces. And so you gotta let that process, that creative process, kind of sometimes land upon you and just naturally come out of it. And so trying to be I want a business that does this and that does that, and that forcing it can be very difficult. And I think the gentle way that you're talking about viewing it can be an excellent place to start. It's let's make sure we can live on this land for generations. We can make money making food happen. And that alone can be a victory. Just having a successfully regenerative farm, you know what I mean?
Well, that's a good segue to Dustin. Dustin, introduce yourself first.
Oh yeah, let's all do that.
That's. Hi guys, I'm Dustin Powers. I have
Woo!
regenerative farms and have businesses too. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit, and I got some questions for you guys. I'll just keep on. Okay, how many of you guys? I want to play off of your metrics idea there. How many of you guys think that later this week, next month, sometime soon, you would probably buy Cassandra let's say a $30, $40 meal at her restaurant of choice? Raise your hand if you would do that.
It's really nice.
Okay, most of you. So there's 100 people here, 50, 100
I kept
people
noting
here.
who did it.
Somebody do that math really quick and tell me how much money Cassandra wouldn't have to pay in the upcoming month on a nice meal, right? So when we look at metrics, do not assign profit or success to the dollar bill. It's a metric that's been forced upon you to keep you enslaved, basically. Your metrics, the most important asset, in my opinion, is your social capital. And right now, Cassandra's built a shit ton of social capital that would pay itself back in financial equivalent without her having to get involved in any kind of taxes. So when you're looking at metrics, keep in mind that success of a business is not just how many dollars you made. In fact, that might be a problem. Maybe you should look. It's more about how happy does this make me? How many expenses does it eliminate from my life? Is my business my regenerative farm that grows all of my food that I no longer have to buy? To an extreme example. So really focus on the metrics and say, not just business, but what am I doing in life, and is it making me happy and healthy? And start there. And then money will come and go, and there's times where you'll have to make money to get by. That's all part of the process. But I've really tried to focus on how do I spend the money I make to live the life that I want with as little money as possible. And the key element to it is building strong relationships, because money in life comes from people anyways. That's where the money's going to come from. So you have to have a relationship with a person to even get to their money. I'm just arguing, skip that part of it, put the money off to the side, and let's focus on how can we have better relationships with each other without being confined to dollars and controlled by dollars. So that's my talk in a nutshell.
Well, everybody clap for Dustin. Come on. I was on my lowest of lows when I lived in Pennsylvania. I lived in a lower income area, and bills were heavy. And I never necessarily felt the stress of that, because I knew all my farmers and I'd barter. What do you guys want? I've got mushrooms. I've got fresh mushrooms. I've got dried mushrooms. I've got medicine. And then you're able to have that as your currency. That's a whole other level. And how do you even put a dollar amount on the most beautiful thing you're able to make? This is a completely other, topic. But what Dustin's saying is so relevant to what I think needs to be pushed forward in conversation, because we value things in the way that we've been programmed to value them. And so, yeah, thank you, Dustin.
Yeah, stick on that for a minute, because you said, how do you even put a dollar value on this beautiful thing? You have to sometimes put a dollar value on a beautiful thing so that you can sell it, so that that's what a business is. So how do you put a dollar value on a beautiful thing?
So for me, it's what the model that I followed was you check out what else is on the market, obviously. You do some research, and then you do your costs, too. You see if the business can run based upon what's currently running in the space and how much it costs you to produce the product. And then you want to figure out, what makes sense for you as a business owner. But the large ethos for me was supporting the right inputs for my output, right? And then charging a premium at that. So sometimes people say, oh, your tinctures are expensive. No, my tinctures are not expensive. What you're getting is watered down boo-boo bullshit, and I'm selling you real things. That's going to change your life. You can go over there and have that $20 thing, but this is what this is. It's going to last you longer. It's going to be better for your health. And I've had to raise my prices. Inflation's been nuts. My bottle cost has gone up. My price on materials has gone up. And I slowly, sometimes once a year, have been $2 more, $2 more. And that $2 is a huge deal. I've stopped selling wholesale as much because I'm like, this is dumb. I just make more retail. And that's the other side of business too, is you've really got to figure out what's working for you and what's not. But putting a dollar amount on things is difficult. Don't undersell your product. A lot of people look at something and they think, oh, this is what it costs and that's too expensive. I go, do you want to know the amount of years that I've spent researching what I'm selling you? You're not spending $30 on this thing. You're spending $30 or $40 on the 17, 20 plus years I have had doing this thing. That's a whole other level of measurement. So don't ever let people tell you that your price is too high. Make it reasonable and make accessibility for other individuals too. Sliding scale is a real thing, and you're able to provide that if you charge a premium for your products. I tell people that all the time. Like, if you won't need something of mine, come find me and let's talk about what works for you. Buffer it up, and then take care of the people that you need to take care of.
My name's Chris Trump. I am addicted to natural farming, and
Hi, Chris!
I think business in general is a incredible topic to have up here. I'd like to talk about kind of a view. It's not really a metric, but it might be helpful. I think one of the main ways to kind of value your product. I'm going to make a triangle because it's helpful for explaining this. No, I'm not being OCD at the moment. But your time ultimately is, a valid, weight on one side of the scale. I would say that a farm could be 3 points of kind of calculation, if you will. You got time, the farmer's time. You have quality, and you have production or income. And with the ideal being that if I have a regenerative farm, that I get to hang out with my family at the beach all day, I have the best quality in the world, and I make all kinds of production. My production and money is off the chart, That's the ideal. But the reality is...
We want the talk on that.
Right. That's what we're doing here. That's I'm speaking at one. That's the ideal. That's our. I mean, we could all agree that wouldn't be a bad way to farm, right? That's kind of. That's the goal. And so I am in my farming, on our farm. I run. My brother runs it now. A 750-acre organic macadamia nut farm.
That's a big deal. Clap.
And I brought some in shell, actually. You just have to figure out how to crack them. 300 PSI. I did not bring a cracker. Okay, but back to the triangle. It doesn't work like that. Or I haven't figured that out. Maybe Dustin's got that down. Infinite time, all the quality and all the production. So say I want more time. I want to have more time. The reality is the triangle shape changes. Generally speaking, my quality is going to dip. if I spend all my time at the beach and my farm is left, and my production or income could decrease. So these get closer together, and now I have all the time. I do very little. And so Matt was talking about it last night. He's like, I was busy, I was working, I had kids, and so I throw stuff in. I threw stuff in the yard, and whatever grew. So his need for his farm was time, and the other two things he had to kind of compromise on. Ultimately, it worked out.
Well, I gave it more time so the quality could catch up with the seed. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah. But so you had time too, where you're cultivating a seed crop. All right, don't mess with my triangle too much, Matt. I'm huge on efficiencies of workflow and economy of motion, if you will. You can say, I will not compromise on quality, and I think that's kind of universal here. I see a lot of people that are like, I want medicine in my life, and so you're saying this has to stay like peaked out, and I need to make really pretty good income. I need this triangle to look, balanced, but you still only have so much time. So creating economies of workflow, things that work for you, things that the seeds that now he's cultivated a seed crop that can be thrown on the ground, because the only ones that made it were the ones that germinated well and grew. You can mess with how your time is spent, maximizing efficiency, and your costs, etc. Finding things that work, outsourcing your mushrooms so that. But I guess I just wanted to present that concept of a triangle so that we can say, okay, how can I make that same quality, increase my income, and still have more time? And I would say that right here at the point of time, we can really, through process and learning, education, we can learn things that really help us adjust that.
Can I make a?
Yeah.
I want to play off that again. So, a couple things. First, you mentioned that successful regenerative farms or farm 3 generations, right? So when I look at, I'll be the third piece of the triangle. Wait, now there's no triangle. There goes my
Oh, you need the triangle?
I did. I'll go for it anyways.
Got it. I'll need the other one.
Keep in mind that time preference. When we're talking about, we need 3 generations before we start even thinking this is successful. If I'm going to be the first generation, I need to consider, okay, my time preference has to be much, much longer, beyond my own life even. The 3rd generation, some of those kids, who knows, I might die, but can I establish high quality systems that probably won't put out very much? What they do put out may be so chaotic that it doesn't even make any sense. By having perhaps a side income over here that has little to do with those two, but maybe is some of my time. And ideally, I've set up an income stream that's passive, that's allowing my time preference on my broad-scale earthworks in the forest to be generational. And as I build those out, super high quality, build the right terraces, ponds, swales on this property about out in the middle of nowhere, start planting fruit trees and nut trees, maybe from seed for super cheap, because again, my time preference is generational, so I can scatter, I can just toss all those seed fruit trees and nut trees will grow from seed too, not super successfully, but the ones that do grow are pretty good. They're often higher quality. So I can spend very little time outside of this very intensive time. Like instead of every day I'm getting up at 4, I got 2 weeks in the summer where I'm going to do heavy earthworks and a bunch of implementation, and the rest of the time I might be spending weekends out there, right? Maybe this is a remote property. This is not me. This is maybe you I'm talking about now. Maybe you work in the city, have a little property out in the woods, a couple acres with a cabin, and you start planting some fruit trees. You spend a year out there. You own the property for a year, spending every 1 week in a month checking out how the season applies. And so my time preference on this property is not much longer. And after a year, I'm like, okay, I know maybe plant an apple tree over here and some nut trees over here. And I know that my grandkids maybe someday will get an abundant, all the apples they could ever want. They can make applesauce for the whole dang year, right? That even those little things. Now that's applesauce that kid didn't have to buy, and then maybe could even sell to his friends or something, right? So don't let the necessity of making all three stop you from getting started, I guess would be the point. Consider that it's not our fault that the generations of people before us didn't set us up properly to be in these regenerative systems that we want to live in. And it may be you that has to get it started. And know that you're going to fail a lot. Like, we fail way more than we succeed. The trick is learning from those failures, minimizing your exposure during those failures. Like, don't have all of your eggs in one basket, or don't invest all of your dollars so that you get over leveraged, right? Start small, owner finance a property, get some nice contracts, and you can start implementing these, revolutionary, world-changing permaculture projects on your own at your second vacation home too, if that's your thing.
I say fail fast all the time. It's my motto.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
fail fast.
That's the best way to learn if you can afford it, for sure.
I mean, that's a whole other thing, but it's like Dustin said, like, don't put all your eggs in one basket, like, have multiple, I mean, that's an ADHDer's dream, but, like, have multiple things going all the time.
Yeah, and if you can't afford to fail all the time, invest in the people that have already failed and can point you in a couple ways and say, maybe don't fail over there.
The ones that charge $40 for a tincture.
Yeah, or a steak dinner. I'll do a lot of things for a steak dinner. So, so again, dollars aren't the only currency, and I guess that's kind of. I just wanted to go on a tangent off your triangle.
Yeah.
Triangles went away and it threw me off, but.
No, that's great.
Okay.
And I wanted Jessica to introduce herself too, if you wouldn't mind. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jessica Watson. I own a company called Kim Chick Supply Co.
Woo!
Woo woo! It is the only female extraction supply company, and so I kind of started off in one field and just kind of grew on into this, and now it has evolved into mushrooms, and I love it. I love this community. I love being a part of the community. I love what it offers. To kind of piggyback off what you said is, I think the biggest part of sustainability is community.
Yeah.
I feel like if you don't have the dollar, if you got a quarter, you get with your buddy that has another quarter, and you guys come up with something together. I think that is the biggest thing, is that even if you don't have the money to fail, you know what I mean? You be like, hey, I got this idea. Yeah, exactly.
We're a lot less likely to
We're a lot less likely to fail, because you guys will, especially if you find somebody or a community that kind of picks up where you lack, right? Like, I'm not good at everything, and so I try to surround myself with people that are efficient in the things that I'm deficient in. Because you also have to know your own deficiencies, right? You have to know what you're not good at. A lot of times we're like, I'm good at all of these things, and you're not all the time, are you really? Like, hate to bust your bubble, but you're not. And so it's like, find what you're good at, really good at, and then start there. And then start diversifying from that option, right? But if you don't have that main thing that you're good at, I could probably sell anything. I started from there.
Woo!
Exactly. That is what it's about, right? And then I just went from there and just diversified my options from that point. And then that's where it works. And I've also built myself around people that are community, that are I may not talk to them every day, but I know if I call Dustin and I'm like, yo, I need this, or I need help with this, he's gonna be like, Jessica, okay, let me see if I can do it, or let me put you in contact with somebody that will do it, right? Surround yourself with good people. Build from this event here today to expand your network, right? There's somebody here right next to you that is good at something that you're not good at, and you guys come together. I always say come together like butt cheeks.
Yeah.
It's my favorite. Put them right together.
You're so spot on. with
Vivid.
that.
That's really the abundance aspect, is how can 1 + 1 = 2, and then multiply.
Yep.
And that's why I don't know if you guys been listening to me with this morning. I said if I wanted everybody to meet 2 new people today. Raise your hand if you've done that. Wait, all you guys actually listened?
I mean, you didn't have the you had good reverb, so we heard you.
You guys, though, for real though, that's that is the key for this whole event. Just get with people. I was going to use the F word, but 2020, no swearing. Yes, get together like butt cheeks.
Can we talk about vertical integration?
Yeah.
So a business model you create around agriculture with raw materials being your product that you sell, or the produce from your farm being the product you sell, can be a failed balance sheet if you calculate it all out. But if you take that same product you're making and make a kimchi with it, or a sauerkraut, or a tincture, or any ag tourism business.
See how we've been failing? People pay big money for that. I'm telling you.
That's
This
it.
is true.
Yeah,
Somewhere.
look at all the stuff we screwed up.
Closing some loops though.
Exactly. So if you can take your byproduct and make it a side product, and where or instead of selling bulk to a manufacturer, get an investor to help you set up a processing facility where you can keep your own product, put it in a shelf-stable form, or a form that, so like a cabbage, just as an example. You can grow cabbage, you can sell it for $1 a pound. Your organic cabbage, maybe less than that. But if you make a quality jar of organic sauerkraut
With a couple cents of salt in it.
with a couple cents of salt in it, same product you grew, very little effort, you can sell that for $10 a jar. And now you look at your balance sheet, you've added some cost of containers, a little bit of chopping time, and you have a financially sustainable business. Because that's another, I think, really important topic of sustainability is, does your balance sheet work? I know we don't want to make it all about money. Community is cool. And we have bills to pay. But if you're working as a lawyer to pay your farm habit, you don't have a sustainable farm, in my
Unless you're
opinion.
trying to make the world a better place, right? Like
For free.
if the goal is
Who's trying to make a world better place? That's not the point. Just kidding.
But if
Shut that shut up.
If you're going for, hi everybody, I'm Murphy. If you're going for that like community angle, like when you talk about breaking one product into all these byproducts, like yes, you're chopping it, but now you're supporting somebody who produces tools to chop and mill that product. So now you're supporting equipment manufacturers, and then once you put it into that jar, now you have like this whole other category of creatives and artists who are creating packaging and creating these solutions for that. Like there's like 7 other job categories that are created when you take that one product and spread it out. And like what's sustainable about that is that, like, in the way that nobody wants to just make the world better, nobody cares about you doing anything by yourself. Like when you do something that brings other people into it, and you do something that other people's jobs rely on, like now your business has community behind it, even if those are just other people's businesses, even if it's not your employees directly. Like you get to spread out that idea, which is so much more valuable. Like that's how you get on the shelves of Whole Foods, is that like you can't have one mushroom product, you need a mushroom aisle. And so like that community angle really does come from diversifying your product in a way where you do spread it out, because like a lot of people come from this like lone rancher mentality, but it's like that dude had sons, you know what I mean? Like nobody's doing that alone.
and it's not that you should always be striving for profit. It's the third element of permaculture, right? Of turning a surplus. And I don't disagree with you at all. It's are you able? How long can you sustain what you're doing? Considering the financial spot, you're right. There's property taxes you have to pay. There's real life expenses. The world does revolve around dollars. It's how much of that productivity can I take out of it that isn't dollars, right? So here's the minimum amount I need to pay the property tax, and then from there on, I'm kind of free to stop, free there. Other than needing to spend money on other infrastructure and such. So by no means am I saying that you're not going to need any money and everything's going to be great. Yeah, fat chance. You're probably going to have to work a job or two to get to those points, right? Initially, you got to stack those chips first. It's just, how did you spend that money, and is it invested into systems that will eliminate your need for continuing to need that money? That's where I'm after with the property.
And I think if you love it, then the money comes automatically, kind of thing.
Yeah, if you love the people around you, again,
if you
because
love
the money
the people
comes,
and what you do, yeah,
Right.
and what you do, right? Like you ever seen somebody trying to sell you something and they hate their job? You know, you're like, I'm
Home
not buying.
like
Yeah,
today.
exactly. You're like, I'm not buying that from you. You don't even seem like you like it, or you a user. Like the best thing about Rogaine was the guy said that he was also like, not only am I the owner, but I'm a member. Right? Like, you were like, okay, well, I'll buy it too. Like, if he's using it. So it's one of those things, like, if you love it, if you support it, if you believe in it, then the passion will come out, and then the dollars will follow, right? Because
Yeah, that's like people turn to a hobby that makes them zero money, but they become so skilled in the hobby that all of a sudden they're like the most valuable. So like carpentry is a good example. When you get into carpentry, probably nobody's going to pay for your stuff because it kind of sucks. But and you go into it not necessarily expecting that I'm going to get rich or make any money, I'm probably going to lose a bunch of money on this. But if you can refine a skill or a craft, and you can afford to do this, we're talking like leisure at this point. Then you may get to a point where you've gotten so good at it that people are willing to pay you either for the products that you're making or the time that you spent making all those failures. And again, you know, the farm that I have right now doesn't necessarily make any money. That's not the goal of it. It could. There's
but you're
plenty
feeding
of
your family.
Sure, there's that. Right. We stopped selling the beef. That we were making a bunch of profit on the beef. I got tired of the taxes. Now we just have parties and feed our friends and ourselves. It made a lot more sense. I have other businesses that make money, but yes, a farm, if you're going to jump into it, it's the only thing you're going to do, it should be profitable through permaculture, through vertical stacking of your functions and you know, obtaining multiple different outputs from what you're doing. It can be profitable fairly easily. In our region, agro-tourism is more valuable than pretty much any of the other profits, at least individually, and is significantly easier. You don't even have to harvest any of the fruit. You just go out and say, look, there's some chestnuts, go get them. Like, here's some macadamia nuts and shells that you won't be able to crack, but you can have them if you're here.
You know how much people pay for jam, like in these areas? You know what I mean?
Well,
At the
people just
airport.
pay to show up. They'll pay to come and walk around your permaculture property, and especially if they walk away learning something, they got a nice meal that you grew for free. People are more than excited to pay for it, but to support you in continuing to do these things where, no, I don't have time, I'm so focused on making money here, I can't show you around, right? And let's not be black or white, there's a middle ground that's the right spot.
Probably less.
I've got a question.
Yeah, so you have all come up with like amazing products and ideas, like do you selfishly, like how do you get them to be expensive for you, like how do you market to just like, you know, how are you getting people to store your farm?
I'm also a user. You know, like I own this, plus I also use it, right? Like the biggest thing about even you, like with the beef and stuff, is like him just showing what he had for dinner. People are like, God, that was really
I don't sell to people. I show people what I do, and then if they demand hard enough, I guess we can exchange dollars if there's no other way, right? A big one is I give away everything I do for free as far as knowledge and education goes, and I encourage you to go do it yourself. Don't buy beef from me. I got 10 different ways I can show you where you could go raise your own cattle, and I bet you could do it. Try that first. Go buy it from a local guy. There's much better options than you driving all the way down and buying my beef. No way. And 90% of the people will walk away and say, great, I can do that. And 10% of them are like, no, I want yours. I don't care how much it costs. I'm going to get yours. I don't care if I can do it for free. That is suited me in every one of my businesses. Price your customer. If you want to sell the cheapest thing, you're going to deal with a whole lot of unhappy customers. If you have a very expensive, high-quality thing, you're going to deal with much fewer, easier customers, I found.
I always say that normally cheap and quality don't go together.
I thought that's where you're going to go with that triangle. Time, quality, and price. It's very similar to that. Yeah, your pattern. You took that pattern. Yeah.
I think we can make food inexpensive again.
At the highest quality.
At the highest
Yeah, I
quality.
think that's the
through-
cheapest food
through-
farm practice. Yeah.
I mean, you think about like the dollar store model. Like, you go to Dollar Tree or Family Dollar or whatever, knowing that you're gonna get this crappy toy or something, you know, but you're only gonna spend $1 for it, so you expect it to break.
Quality.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
Convenience kills.
you know that it's probably not gonna last a lifetime. You know, you're gonna pass this down to your kids because where did you get it from? You know, look at the source, right? So it's kind of the same thing, and people will pay for quality. They always say they want the cheaper option, but when you really present people, when you can have this for this or this for that, normally they're gonna go with the better quality item.
And a lot of social media, like it's 2022, that's the advantage we have over previous generations, is that you can do these super weird little hobbies that seemingly nobody cares about, and all of a sudden you get really good at it, and you find out there's this community of people that's their thing too, and then I'll pay you an absolute premium.
Look
for,
at all these people
for
in front of
finding
us.
your mushrooms
Yeah.
into concentrated whatever.
Yeah, never in the history of capitalism has it been so easy for a brand to directly reach an individual consumer. And like that's a change in the way that you market, because it used to be important to be able to broadly reach many consumers because marketing was just not that effective. Now you can talk to an individual person, and you have to talk to them differently. You know, you think about the way you read dialogue, the way you talk to a person is not the same way that you billboard to a person, or the same way that you like funny beer commercial to a person. And so like what everyone's saying up here is like, I'm just really honest.
Yeah, focus on your relationships.
That's because that's how you would talk to a person. So like the way that you reach people is literally by being like transparent and being a real person. Like the best advice that Dustin has ever given anyone, and that I learned from him when I first met him, is that the more you give away for free, the more people will be willing to pay when you do charge. And that, like, write that down, because it will change your life. Because if you are giving me this for free, I don't have to sit here and say, okay, so what am I paying for? Like, what's the catch? Like, what is in this package that I didn't expect? Because nothing should be free, then I'm the product. But if it's too expensive, you know, like, everyone's got this trust problem. But if you can be honest, then I don't care what your cost is, or if it's a good price compared to the competitor, because what I've decided is I want yours.
Yeah, I've already proven to myself that was a quality one, based on this free example of whatever it was.
So I want to hop in here. So the number one way to change your business, the number one way to like level up your life, is to level up you. So like, you could have any business. You could be a farmer. You could be an educator like me. If you want to change how people respond to you, how you sell, you need to level up you. This is the most important thing that I've had to learn this over and over and over again. And they're buying you. They are looking, and that's why transparency works so well. Because if you're a good person and you have good intent, and you're doing the right things, they see that and they're like, wow, yeah, okay, I approve. Oh, I can pay for that.
Yeah, we're into your value.
Right. And I was talking to someone earlier today about how incredible that is. I was telling my boys about it. Like, this past month, I was like, you realize we live in a time period where people actually care about the person behind the product.
Yeah.
Growing up, people didn't care. They're like, I want the... Yeah, they didn't know the person either.
Didn't know it.
But even so, I mean, like, we kind of, like, knew there were bad things going on. And, like, you just kept, because, I mean, you didn't have any options. It's like it was still Coca-Cola or Pepsi. And so, for me, this whole time thing doesn't work. Because I bend time. In order to bend time, that's the only way I change the quality and of my profits and of the quality. And so I actually don't ever find balance. Like, I'm a terribly unbalanced person, as my wife. Like, I am like, someone has to tell me what time it is usually. Someone has to tell me, you need to eat now. Like, I am a terribly unbalanced person. But I design systems that force me to go through and like, as I do things, I create things that are balanced. But in a business, you gotta be obsessed. You have to be unreasonable. And that is so hard on relationships. And so you need to like be like, hey, I'm gonna be unreasonable about this. You're okay with that, right? Like, I'm gonna like spend the next 2 weeks, I'm gonna be like nuts. I'm gonna be like working until like 11, 12 at night. And then I'm gonna go to bed, wake up at 6 in the morning, and then I'm gonna do it again, and maybe I'm gonna eat. I'm gonna need you to like make food sometimes for me, maybe, I don't know.
And it's all I can talk about, and it's all that I think about, and I'm always trying to evolve, and it is an obsession.
It's an obsession, and it's the only way. We do not have the luxury of being good and getting by. We live in a world that we can see everyone now. We can see your quality. We can compare your quality across the world. You have to be one of the best in order to get good results. You can't be good and get paid good today. How many people you know people who are like really good at music and don't make any money? In the music industry, it's just like what's happening everywhere. Saturation. And that's why it's so powerful in this place that we're in these industries that we're creating, because we're creating them. It's like that side of the mountain. I always talk about the side of the mountain where no one's skied yet, and it's all that fresh powder, fresh snow. It's like no one's here, and not only that, we can't ski at all. We can't reach all those spots, and this is the most incredible opportunity, not just of this conference, but of this entire time period in the world. Is we have a moment where it's been so restrictive. There's been no options, and now it's like, boom. We have infinite options, but we have to hustle. We have to push. We have to obsess. We have to find the thing that keeps us up at night, and we're like calling our friends. We're like, what, did you know about this? Did you? Right. And you're passing it around, and that's the real way. You have to, and meditation is how you bend time. That's how you bend time. Yeah. So everything they're saying is absolutely true, but I also don't want to like sugarcoat it. Like, you're gonna work harder than you've ever worked. You're gonna be like, I didn't eat today. Oh no. You're gonna be like, my relationships are not being nourished. I need to we're going on vacation this weekend. Like dramatic. Like, you're gonna be all over the map. It's gonna look messy before it looks right, and you gotta be hungry. So whatever it is that you want to do more than anything else and you're obsessed with, do that and figure out how to do it regeneratively, because you can do everything regeneratively, and just do it. Do it.
We probably have time for a couple questions. Any burning desires? Here, we got one in the back. Let me hear you loud. Right in the back.
Do you see a future of financially literate, regenerative farmers? Like, do you picture that? Because that's one of the things I've been trying to figure out, why a farmer's not rich.
I know a bunch of them.
Yeah, I know a bunch of wealthy farmers too.
Well, I mean, even in our age bracket, relatively new farmers, I know a lot. Talk about vertical. I think we kind of skipped over it, but vertical. Like, most farmers focus on a single crop, and when you think farmer, you got a guy that grows corn. Corn went down, you're screwed.
Yeah.
And hopefully you got some subsidies. You're growing a food forest, you got 15 different things that right off the bat are productive, not including the ag tourism, but actual production coming out of an intensive food. Like, Mark Shepard is a great example of highly productive. He's a little bit older than me, at least. But check out Mark Shepard as an example, and it goes on and on and on. Start there, spiral from there. But there's lots of us and them doing it right now. So yes, I see a future. I see it all around.
But I would say that is the future, and that's the only way that they're going to actually have financial success, is to have that literacy, and that's why people like Curtis Stone made so much money, because he was like, these are my metrics, and farmers like, wait, you're showing your metrics? And they look at theirs and go, oh crap.
I mean, it's across everything, right? Diversify your options. You know what I mean? Don't just I said that. Start what you really love and what you're really good at, and then diversify from there, and then grow that, right? Like, just don't stay in that one track lane, because then, like you said, if that goes down, then you're effed. You know what I mean? Then you're screwed. Then you're down to your final. Then you have to figure out something else to do, or something else to grow, or something else. You have to just diversify from what you're good
that
at.
financial literacy is how farmers survived, the past 100 years, because they recognized that, the financial markets didn't mirror agriculture the way they used to. And so this entire crazy tax scheme and, the subsidies that they get paid was all farmers being literate of their current situation.
At a time when it was all small, not all, but majority small family farmers. Most of our food used to be grown that way.
That didn't grow into
Didn't scale.
today.
Yeah, it didn't scale.
So when we think about, do we see small farmers? I think yes, but they don't look like a dude with one house in the middle of nothing.
Anymore.
You know what I mean?
It's your neighbor with a backyard that's got chickens that's selling eggs to a couple of your other neighbors, right? It's that.
Some of them are living in the city, right?
Yeah, it's a guy with a bunch of quails in his garage, like a weirdo.
My parents have a vinyl fence in a normal neighborhood, and you can't walk through the backyard. It is rows and rows and rows of food.
Yeah.
And
he mentioned Curtis Stone. I want to say before you hop on, if you guys haven't heard of Curtis Stone, he did a thing called spin farming up in Vancouver. And it's, if you're in Seattle in the suburbs and you're looking at like maybe how can I start growing some food, you need to look at this example and see if maybe it's something you can replicate. You're in a perfect market. There's plenty of backyards doing nothing. It's the move.
I was gonna say, and then also in that, you know, you never know what could happen. Back to his question, like don't just do a crop because acts of nature can happen too. You know what I mean? You have a swarm of bugs or locusts, or you know what I mean? You have a drought. You have a this. Like,
Yeah, we had an early spring, and then it was hail, and now there's no apples. Like,
see what I'm saying? So
yeah,
you
exactly.
know, kind of plan and build into for some acts of nature. You know, like any insurance company has an act of nature clause because you just have to build in that anything could happen. The things that we can control, we should control. But there are things that we can't, and nature is the biggest one.
Research helps. You know, the if you wanting, yeah, re-education, but you're talking about financial literacy, just specifically in crops. Like you're like, I want something that I grow to be my livelihood. Don't marry the thing you're going to grow before you figure out what people are going to buy. That's a big pitfall that people can get in. Can get into.
That's huge. Clap for that. 'Cause that's huge.
So, what?
I just have to write down something.
All right, you got it.
See what you say that?
Yeah. So, I built a commercial aquaponics in Hawaii while I was managing our farm because you know you get bored. Too much time. So I built it. I looked at some models that other people did and built my own model, which I don't recommend. It's better to figure out the things that people have done before you, so you don't have to fail uphill for the learning curve. But I didn't know what people were going to buy. I knew I could produce all these things really well. I had all these different crops that went really well in my aquaponics. So what I did is I got myself a pack of gallon Ziplocs. I had all the things that I was like, I could grow any of these and be really happy. They all grow really well. They're fairly easy. I got my time figured out. And I bagged them all into, you know, packs of four different things I was willing to grow. And I went to all the produce vendors that were available to me within a short enough distance. And I walked into their place, no appointment, and I asked to see one of their buyers. And I said, hey, I can grow all these things. I can deliver weekly. I'm giving them to all your competitors. And I'm just going to grow for whoever offers me the best price. And I went home, and I got 3 phone calls from four deliveries. And they all wanted my baby romaine lettuce. And one guy offered me $6 a pound. I was like, cool, I'm growing baby romaine. But before I did all this infrastructure, you know, I got myself ready. But before I went all in on something, I figured out, where's my outlet? How am I going to sell this? What am I going to sell it for?
Know your market.
Does that work on my balance sheet? Okay, cool, I'm in production. So yeah, that I think there's financial literacy, but there's also kind of farm business literacy, I think. And that's, I tell people, you know, I teach green natural farming all over the world, and I tell people, I'm going to teach you this, but I'm not going to teach you how to farm. And I think the best way to learn how to farm is attach yourself to somebody who's making money farming and get a job with them. You want an education in how to make income in agriculture? Get a job with a farmer who does it really well, and watch what they do in their day. Watch how they do things. Watch what they spend their money on. And I don't think there's a better actual education.
It's a kinetic education.
We have lunch and then shit it
I just want to, can you guys thank our panel for me?
Thank you!
Dustin said he's happy to give away everything he knows for free, so hit him up. I think that you're going to... Right. But I want to introduce one of our sponsors. In fact, I want to let our sponsor introduce himself because it fits really well into this, and it's a resource for this area that I'd like to do. So, go ahead. Introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. So my name is Joao. I am with Ruta Verde, one of the sponsors here. What we do, we are a nonprofit focused on sustainable development. We do it through reforestation and project like aquaponics too in Washington State and in Peru. But I'm also here because I work with Ventures Nonprofit, and I want to tie into the topic we're talking about, financial literacy. So Ventures Nonprofit is a nonprofit here in Seattle. What we do is we support small business owners to gain the know-how and the resources they need to really grow in this area, which is difficult to get. And the way we do it is by first offering a low cost, and even if you need assistance with the cost, it's an 8-week course where we teach you all the basics on marketing, on running your financials, on even the licenses that you might need for specific business in the area. And after you do the course, then we open up more resources to you. We can get access to one-on-one business coaches. You can get access to some smaller loans as well, up to $50,000. And also, if you have a product that you make, we can also help you showcase that product in fact-based markets. We can help you refine that product to really capture the customers that you want to get to, and a bunch of other resources as well. So that's a resource for you out there. We're out here in Seattle. We can help anybody in Washington State. And if you guys also wanted more knowledge, I studied sustainability. I practiced it in the Amazon rainforest, studied in Iceland, and now I'm here. And I'd be happy to help any of you out, because what we're doing here in this community, it's beautiful. It's what we need in the world, and it's I'm so happy to see all of you here being part of it as well. So happy to help out. If you want more information, you can find me at the booth over there for Ruta Verde, and I'll be happy to lead you the right way. So.
Already late, so I didn't do a good job. But thank our panel, please. And
last thing, financial literacy. I forget what it's called. I was trying to remember the name. Our governmental agencies provide. I wish I knew the name. Come and ask me if this is interesting to you. I'll have it in the next 30 minutes. But basically, there is a network of mentors in business. What? Score. Thank you. It's a free service. Basically, business professionals put their name in. You can call and arrange an appointment for any type or aspect of business development that you're interested in. Get an appointment with a professional in that industry, and you can have a mentor at no cost to you, work through some of your business plan and or business needs. And that's a service that already exists and is free. So it's called SCORE. Look it up. It's available all over the U.S.